Today what I wanted to do was go over the Detroit Red Wings and some comments that Steve Yzerman recently made in regards to the team and them potentially signing some guys. What does this mean for the free agent market that is, and could this potentially result in some bigger names heading over to Detroit? Now, I know the entire Mitch Marner angle is still floating around other teams, not necessarily Detroit at the moment, but bear with me here. The reason we're talking about this player, and of course, the Yzerman comments linking them together, is because of an article that was posted on Detroit Hockey Now earlier this morning by Bob Duff. Take a look at this piece. It'll be linked in the description. Red Wings Steve Yzerman insists that NHLers view Detroit as a desired destination. Okay, no, I have to redo that. There was a very apparent level of doubt in the way that I read that title. Let's redo that. Red Wings Steve Yzerman insists NHLers view Detroit as a desired destination. Yeah, there you go. A lot less doubt in that read. But the article opens up by talking about how there was a period where Detroit wasn't really a hot landing spot for NHL free agents. Yzerman went out there and said this about that idea. Not anymore. I didn't see that as an issue last year, and I don't anticipate that as an issue this year. Sure, he'll admit it. There was a time when selling top NHL UFAs on Detroit was like trying to sell parkas to Hawaiians. I guess early on when we were a last-place team and we weren't really a candidate to make the playoffs, Yzerman admitted. Duff writes here that in those days, as beggars, the Red Wings could not be choosers. Like most struggling teams, when the A-listers said no thanks, they were seeking to fit square pegs into round holes. Attempts at turning JT Compher and Andrew Kopp into number 2 centers didn't work. Making Ben Sherratt into a first-pair D-man was left wanting. Yzerman believes that he can sell a top UFA on what the Red Wings have to offer. Still, he figures it's ultimately all about what is it that the player wants. It all comes down to what they're looking for, Stevie Y said. What's important to them? Are they trying to win a Stanley Cup? Are they looking to put the most money in their pockets as they can? Do they want to play with their buddy? All those things, I think, are kind of in the ballpark of what a player could want, but I honestly don't know what other thoughts could exist there. It's either you want to play with a guy, you want to get the most money, or you want to win a cup, right? Okay, no, I take that back. There is a fourth option. It's depending on whatever it is that your family wants or what opportunities they have. I think the Johnny Gaudreau situation from a few years ago in Columbus, where he unexpectedly signed with CBJ, all of us fans, we had no idea why he chose Columbus, and then it was like, okay, now we know he's prioritizing family. It is somewhat closer to home, and after some thinking, it was like, okay, now it makes sense. I think those are the 4 reasons why a player would want to sign with a team. Opportunity on the ice, opportunity in their wallets, opportunity for their on-ice relationships, and opportunity for their off-ice relationships. It's like a quadrant of 4, and those are the 4. Now, this is where we talk about Detroit. Can they offer one of those 4 for any of these guys? I think maybe the easiest connection that you could have made would have been in that on-ice relationship category. Hey, if Patrick Kane decides to stay in Detroit, does that mean Jonathan Toews would be interested in coming to Detroit as well? Of course, we ended up seeing that not happen because Jonathan Toews went to Winnipeg for a huge contract that sees him making potentially $5 million in signing bonuses if he ends up playing all the games. But Stevie Y is going to have to find a way to sell a top UFA on Detroit either with his wallet or with his vision of his hockey team. The Wings are in a pretty difficult spot where they were just on the cusp of the playoffs last year, and then this year they were a lot further away, so they did decline in that respect. It might not be the easiest sell to a top-tier free agent that the Red Wings can be a contender, but if the Red Wings can spice it up with a little bit of extra dough, then maybe there's a conversation to be had. This is why we talk about the next part of this article. Bob Duff writes here that there are published reports that an NHL team is going to be offering Toronto Maple Leafs UFA Mitch Marner a 2-year deal at a $12 to $13 million AAV mark. Rumors suggest that Marner is considering one of these kinds of deals in free agency, The Athletic said. Could the team that offers Marner that be the Red Wings? This is one approach Yzerman might take. Get an A-lister to sign on the dotted line by offering them mega money in short term. In doing so, the player would be getting his payday, and at the same time, he won't be stuck with a long-term commitment if the Red Wings come up again short in their playoff bid. Yzerman says here at the bottom, I think if you look at the group of our team, and it's for any particular player, it's an enticing opportunity to play alongside some of these guys and really make a difference on a team that's trying to take another step, Yzerman said. So, this is a pretty intriguing thought process, and it's one that I think Marner, as a player, he would actually be on board with. We've been talking all this talk about how Mitch and his camp have been pretty nasty optics-wise in terms of how NHL fans, and especially Leafs fans, view them and their process. Like, I'm honestly of the belief that if Marner just had different representation, a different agency, different people who are talking to him about certain contract stuff, I feel like he probably would have been a much more beloved Toronto Maple Leaf, because he was very good. It's just pressure gets on, he makes terrible comments in the media that lack accountability, he pokes the bear in the media by saying things that really devoid any responsibility, and now it's like, okay, this is part 2 of the Marner contract discussions where we all know that he pinched every penny that he could have gotten in the last contract that he had got, and now he's apparently wanted to go to a no-state tax team like Dallas or Vegas or Florida or whatever. He wants to get as much money as possible. Everybody's talking about his dad, and now it's like, okay, if he gets a deal that's short-term instead, if you get a 2-3 year contract, it would actually be beneficial for everybody because the cap is going up like crazy. Chris Johnson said that on the STP and Chris Johnston show earlier last week. With the cap going up even more than we had initially expected, and with Mitch Marner signing shorter-term deals, this guy could literally go the LeBron James route of just getting deal after deal after deal, signing with wherever and getting just as much money as possible as the cap goes up. I don't really have any doubts that Marner is going to continue being a top-tier point producer, and so getting shorter-term contracts might actually be the move here. And if it's with Detroit, let's say he gets $12-13 million with the Detroit Red Wings. I know we can talk about salary cap space and all that later on, but if the Wings are able to somehow miraculously use their $21 million in cap space to bring back guys like Kane, bring on a guy like Marner, if you're able to get that going on in Detroit, then all of a sudden there's a huge, huge attraction for a lot of other fans and a lot of other players to view this team. And all of a sudden, maybe Detroit becomes a destination. Who really knows? So with all that in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Steve Yzerman's commentary on the Red Wings being a destination? And what are your thoughts on Duff's hypothesis here that maybe the Red Wings could have been that team to send Marner a short-term $12-13 million AAV deal, trying to grab him onto their squad and make their team a lot more of an attraction? Do you think this would work out? Do you think Marner would choose Detroit over a team like Vegas or Anaheim? Let me know your opinions in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.